This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 16th. The IRS is warning taxpayers they may not be able to get help filling out tax documents or answers to questions about their taxes, and the IRS is blaming budget cuts. With 100 million people expected to call the IRS this tax season, the organization is warning only about half of those calls will be answered. Agency watchdog Nina Olson said in a report, tax compliance could suffer, quote, over the long term if these problems are not quickly and decisively addressed. Congress cut the IRS budget by $346 million for the budget year ending September 30th. When adjusted for inflation, the IRS budget hasn't been this low since 1998. The budget cut was in response to the IRS targeting of conservative groups, the spending of lavish amounts of money on employee conferences, and its role in the implementation of Obamacare. Past reports have shown the IRS was rife with inefficiency and failure even prior to the budget cuts. It has been determined that icy roads and foggy conditions, coupled with a lack of seatbelts, is to blame for the fatal prison bus crash in West Texas earlier this week. 10 people, 2 prison guards and 8 prisoners, were killed when the bus they were riding in slid off an icy overpass and into a moving train. 5 other individuals were taken to the hospital, and all are in serious or critical condition. Weather reports indicate the temperature was near 30 degrees with fog and mist the night of the accident, leaving visibility at less than 3 miles at the time the crash took place. In the midst of a flu outbreak, the CDC is still encouraging Americans to get vaccinated, despite reports that the flu shot has been effective for only about 23% of those who receive the vaccine. Children aged 6 months to 17 years had a slightly better rate of effectiveness, 26%, while adults aged 18 to 49 had about 12% effectiveness. The CDC is still recommending the vaccine as it can still prevent some infections of the currently circulating flu strains and other viruses like influenza B that may circulate later in the season. They also remind Americans that vaccines can help prevent serious flu-related complications, including hospitalization and death. U.S. Army officials have announced a pilot program to allow female soldiers to participate in Ranger School beginning this April. Seeking to comply with the 2013 policy to eliminate unnecessary gender-based barriers to service, the Army joins the Marines in opening up these new avenues for women. Army Chief of Staff General Ray O'Neill said Ranger standards would be universal and gender-neutral, saying he wants the standards to remain the same while giving women an opportunity to become Rangers. Historically, IJ Review reports a significant percentage of soldiers attempting Ranger School are cut for failing to meet the physical fitness requirements. And when the Academy Award nominations were announced yesterday, some in the media alleged the film Selma, the Martin Luther King Jr. biopic chronicling his historic march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama in 1965, was snubbed by the Academy, despite the fact the film had been nominated for Best Picture and Best Original Song for John Legend's Glory. Critics argued a lack of nominations for the actors and director can be attributed to the makeup of the average Academy voter who is, quote, a 63-year-old white man. Many on social media responding to the accusations by pointing out the general political tendencies of Hollywood, which lean left, and by pointing to past Academy Award nominees like 12 Years a Slave and Django Unchained. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 16th.
VLR.
This show is produced by IJReview.com.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host, or anyone else.
Let's be clear. There are no winners here. Now let's be clear. let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here.
Two minds are better than one. Time for the right mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum.
Well, welcome to the show, folks. Happy Friday afternoon to you. This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. If you'd like to call in this segment, please do. 412-567-6879, or you can tweet us at The Right Mics. Next half hour, we will have good friend of the show, Mark Tapson, on to talk about culture and movies and other things. Miller, have you recovered from your all-night get-to-know your new Apple Fest?
I wouldn't say I'm recovered. Maybe I'm trying to become recovering. Listen, we got to tell the folks. Okay, so I finally break down. If you've been following the show, you know that Hausum been telling me, Jessica telling me. Well, no, Jessica, you haven't. But anyway, you got to get a MacBook Pro. All right, so I have a new all-in-one. Relatively new Samsung that I use. Anyway, so I just Hausum weak moment yesterday. As you know, I bought one, so what was it? It was more than 12 hours later, dude. It was like I don't even remember. It's like something 1:30 in the morning here. I'm up messing with this thing, so I send a message to Hausum, and I say, dude, I may kill myself before tomorrow's show. So your response was call me. So I did, and you're laughing out loud when you answer. So
because the last thing I want you to do is commit Harry Carey
over a computer.
Because the difficulty of transitioning from archaic, ineffective, complicated PC nonsense to the beauty that is the Mac iOS.
So see, thankfully, instead of calling suicide prevention or 911, I called you because you did walk me through several basics to help me at least prolong my life for another 24 hours. So I've gotten, I mean, I'm encouraged. Let's say that. Beautiful machine. I don't think, and it's probably because I did not grow up on it, I just don't think that the Apple operating system is as intuitive or easy to do stuff. It seems to me, like you and I were talking about snipping or screen grabbing last night. Seems to me that instead of like clicking on a button, as you do with Windows, you got to do like control this and, put your right foot in the air and then hit this all at the same time, and then you can snip. I mean, it just seems to me to be a bit cumbersome.
Okay, Jessica, would you please record that little segment? Because in about 7 days, we'll have another segment to record, and that will make a fun little audio to juxtapose his statement today, timestamp 2:08 p.m. Eastern versus the timestamp at that point.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that.
And then you know what, Jessica, you know what? And again, Hausum, very gracious and very helpful. And I mean
Say that again?
No. So anyway, he was sending me screenshots of his setup, various screens on the MacBook Pro and stuff. And it was looking awesome. It was like, dude, I got to get there, because it was like, once I get it set up, I think we'll be good to go. But at the same time, it was just like hopeless, but not. So anyway, man, I appreciate your help.
It'll be awesome once you have it all together. I mean, they have the quick keys on Windows too. It's just that most people do the right click. So
well, this will right click as well. I mean, I bought that magic mouse, but I'm thinking again, just like, listen, we got to move on and not get off into the weeds too far. But just again, like snipping, using the snip tool on Windows or whatever, it just seems a bit harder. Anyway,
well, you know what? I never knew how to do it on the other. By the way, I just Googled, Mike. Best Buy selling LG and Acer 27-inch LED HD monitors for $200.
What size?
27.
What size is yours?
I think it's a 24.
Yeah, no, yours looked very good. Yeah, no, I know. So I'll pick one up because I like that whole idea. Slide, what'd you say? Slide to the left, and it goes to that other monitor. So I will definitely have to set that up.
Yeah,
Listen, before
frankly, you could do it either way. You could put it on the right or left. I just have it on the left because the way my desk is set up.
no, it just looked perfect to me, and I'm left-handed anyway, as if that makes a difference.
Wait,
But
you're left-handed?
of course I am. Are you?
Yeah, I didn't know. No, I'm not. My both my parents are left-handed, and my number four kid is left-handed.
Both parents and not you. Hmm.
Yeah, although my dad, it's kind of a weird deal. He writes left-handed, and he writes like his arm is way out above the paper, and he drags. It's really funny how he drags his arm across.
He does
But
that right-handed?
no, he writes with his left hand.
I was going
And
to
he,
say because most left-handers that write, they kind of curl their hand and their arm around,
yes,
and it
that's
looks real
exactly
weird.
the way he does it. Right.
I don't. I do not do that.
So you hold it with your arm below the pen, whereas he's got it like.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. No, I know. It could look. It would look like a mirror image, if you will, of a right-hander writing. But
Yeah, I watch my dad write, and I figure he's got to take yoga classes to be able to get his body into that position.
do you
You know
know,
what
by
though?
the way?
He is. I'll say this about him: every single other thing he does right-handed.
You know, my son is like that. That's exactly my son. He writes left-handed, but he does everything else. Throws a ball. He was a pitcher. I mean, I coached him for years in Little League. Pitches, throws a ball, does everything else right-handed, but writes left-handed.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting. Listen, before we head into, we got to talk about the Duke thing, as you said before we came on. But were you listening to the news, the IRS, the little IRS bit?
I did, man. Yeah, who would have seen that coming?
Yeah, I'm completely shocked. And of course, it's all legitimate, right? So the IRS saying that help, as if and I put help in air quotes. I mean, you could call about, you, you could call three times about a semi-complicated question and get three different answers from these people. So, again, help needs to go into quotes. But if you are just tuning in and did not hear that clip during the news, IRS now is saying because of budget cuts, no one may be available to help you. Dude, that's not like real political or anything, right?
Oh my gosh, man! No kidding.
I mean, I laughed out loud.
Exactly. Hey, well, let's quickly talk. We need to follow up on this because if you recall, if you were listening yesterday, and if you have not listened to yesterday's show, it was extraordinarily good. If I do say so myself,
It was
you can listen.
extraordinarily.
It was extremely good. Yeah, and you can listen to it via our website, which is therightmics.us. So listen to the show yesterday, and you will hear us talk towards the end of the show, I think it was, about Duke University and how they're going to be doing, or they had announced that they were going to do with the call to prayer. But what's happened is the university has kind of retracted from that a little bit.
What are you surprised?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. I would say this is a difference without a whole lot of distinction. Here's the folks. Let me just read this. This is an article that Caroline Schaefer at IJ Review just put up a couple hours ago. Plans to hold Muslim prayer in Chapel Bell Tower forced Duke University to react. I'm just going to read from the top. Facing a backlash from within and outside the community, Duke University officials backed down from their recent decision to hold a weekly call to prayer from the campus Chapel Bell Tower. The organizers plan to go ahead with the call to prayer, but will do it instead from the steps of the chapel instead of from the bell tower.
Oh, so they're still going to do it.
Yes, they're going to do it.
See, I did not read that part as I parsed
Yeah, here's the thing. Duke remains committed to fostering an inclusive, tolerant, welcoming campus for all of its students. However, it was clear that what was conceived as an effort to unify was not having the intended effect. So
Okay,
then
so
here's
let's